looks like 3, 2, 1. We are live. Right. Hello, Dr. Rob. Awesome to meet you. Thank you for
You
thank you
too,
for
my
thank you
man.
for
You
doing
too.
this. Let's get
Of
right
course.
into this.
Yes, sir.
These days I like to start with what's it like to be you? What's life from your perspective like?
Wow, nobody's asked me that before. I think from outside looking in, I have an amazing life.
Mm,
I deal with a lot of high-profile movie stars and stuff like that.
okay.
So most of them are A-list celebrities that I deal with. So it looks pretty good from the outside when you're flying on private jets and they see you in these amazing hotels. But it's like anything else. When you do this for a living, it sometimes you don't want to do it. Sometimes it gets tired. Sometimes it's boring. But I'm
Mm,
busy. I keep myself busy. I run an empire. We have like 5 offices around the world. I have 3 other businesses that I run or my team runs.
wow.
So yeah, I mean, I enjoy the TV. Don't get me wrong, that's nice. But I just think helping people, that's what they see. They see this kind guy, but can also be mean sometimes, especially with patients who don't do as they're told. But apart from that, man, yeah, I seem to have a complete life, to be honest.
Okay. Okay, so you're saying from outside in, it looks like almost glamorous, like the private jets and the celebrities and all this. So, and from your perspective, you said it kind of becomes normal life.
Yeah, because it's like if you can imagine wanting to be a musician and all of a sudden you get this band and you get a record deal and you start traveling all over the world. It's like after about 2 or 3 months it becomes work. So it doesn't
Right.
become enjoyable. It's like getting up at 6 a.m. when you just got to bed at 3 a.m. and doing sound
Right.
checks and all that stuff. It's like, oh God. So I have to keep reminding myself, and this is the important point. I
Mm,
have to keep reminding myself that I am very privileged in what I do. What I do is I do it to the best. I mean, I'm the best in the world, period. So I do. I'm all in or all out. If I'm going to do something, I do it to the best. But yeah, it's like flying on private jet. Oh my God, you're so lucky and blessed, but it just becomes work. So like I said, I've got to check myself every day. It's funny because I was doing a show on TV and it was called Eye Opener and it goes out to like 18 million people and they'd flown us down there and picked up my chauffeur like they always do. And I come off set and I said to my wife, "Where's my chauffeur?" Because I wanted to get back to our hotel and get back to Texas. And she gave me a look from hell. And she said, "First of all, it's not your chauffeur. The company has put this on for you. Secondly, if I ever hear you say that again with a derogatory voice, I'm going to leave you." And I'm like, wow, because you start getting complacent, you start getting demanding. So when
right.
you see these movie stars on and they're doing all sorts of stuff, crazy stuff, I can understand that because the life I knew, I grew up on the projects. I grew up on the council estates. I was poor. My parents were poor. Never
Wow.
amounted to anything until I come over here, and then the glamour, the money, everything started to come in. So I just keep reminding myself that I am blessed to do this. I have to keep reminding myself that.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great reminder just for everybody as well. For me, I'm definitely not there yet, right? But I've been a digital nomad, meaning I get to travel. I have my own business. I help people with social anxiety, right? So what I do is pretty awesome from the outside as well. But I have a similar experience, maybe not at the same level yet, but definitely from the outside, it's like, oh, you're young, you're traveling, you're enjoying life. But from me, it's like, yeah, it's life, it's work. I do this, I work, and I have meetings, and yeah, every couple months I change location and I get to explore places. But is so I do have to remind myself as well.
Yeah.
So how was
People
it
are,
for you to how was it for you to become to like get there? What was the journey?
the journey was horrific for me because I started homeless when I started this journey.
Wow.
So I literally, lost everything because of my addictions, alcoholism, drug addiction. So I lost 2 children, ages 1 and 3, wife, houses, cars, uh, license to practice, all that stuff. I lost all of that. So I came with literally nothing to lose.
Mm,
So I died twice on the streets in England, Manchester, England. I was dead and they brought me back to life on the side of the streets,
wow.
which I hated them men for that because I just didn't want to live. I tried 7 times to commit suicide.
Oof.
There's just nothing left for me. So when I got off the streets, and for those guys obviously don't know Manchester, 97% of homeless people in Manchester die on the streets. So I was one of 3% that actually got off the streets and made something of himself.
Wow.
So I kind of dedicated my world to helping people like me, depressed, childhood trauma, alcoholics,
Mm,
addicts, PTSD, and their families. So it's kind of been a mission. So when you're on this mission, you don't realize how famous you're becoming. You don't realize that the money is ridiculous that you're charging an hour. My dad was alive. He would slap me if he heard what my
mm,
hourly rate was. So the journey has been good and bad. Good because I don't want for nothing. I have everything I have, everything I need. I have the best of the best, whatever, wherever I go, which is good. The downside is when you're working with an A-list client, we just had an actor on, one of the highest paid actors in the world, in the top 10, what I'll tell you.
wow.
And he was very demanding. So when I'm at home in bed and he calls and said, get over here quick, and they send a plane for me, and I jump on a plane, and it's just, and then you arrive there, they say, oh, well, I need to go to Barbados this afternoon. So now you're off to Barbados, and the wife's at home, you got your dogs, so it is very, very demanding. And probably once every 2 years, I go, I'm done with this crap. I think I'm going to retire. Never
Right.
happens though. But when I look
Okay.
back, I try and look outside in most of the time. I always drive out, I back out, I reverse down my driveway. I have this extortionate $200,000 car. I'm driving down. I always spend time at the end of the driveway to look back at the house and go,
Mm,
I am blessed to be living like this, and I cannot remember that. Because I always thought, to be honest, Andre, what I thought was money was it. If I could just get $100,000 in the bank, I'm happy. No, 500,000, no, 1 million, no, 10 million, no. It never
mm,
made me happy. So what I
okay.
found is what I've been working on myself is stop chasing the money and enjoy the life now. Stop thinking about the destination and enjoy the journey right now, because I did the destination thing for so long. And at the age of 63 now, I look back and go, what the hell have you been chasing? Because I was
Yeah.
never satisfied in here. And I think that's the key to life is it is what you make it. You take the chances. I just signed an office deal in Dallas, Texas for $1 million. This is about 5 years ago. People were losing their mind in my company. How the hell can you do that? Do you sleep at night? My answer is always the same. I died twice on the streets of Manchester.
Mm,
What the hell are they do to me that I haven't already haven't done to myself? So that's another good point in my life is I take chances. How many times people have said I can't do it? You know how many
yeah.
times people say to me that it's impossible, you're stupid, you can't do it, don't be ridiculous. And my answer is always the same. Says who? Who's making these rules up that says I can't do it because I don't like that?
Yeah.
So then I prove them wrong. Not in a horrible way, but a nice way. But I still wake
Yeah.
up, go, holy shit, I can't believe I'm here.
Yeah.
When we
Wow.
stay, when we stay in these crazy hotels that charging that the patient pays the 2 grand a night, even a couple of months ago, me and my wife sat on this balcony overlooking Italy, and it's like, how the hell did we get here?
Yeah.
And we don't know. It's crazy.
Okay. Well, you say, oh, how do we get here? We don't know. But I mean, if you reflect, if you look at the journey, I'm like, you can see, no,
I
the
can
steps.
see, I had a huge spiritual awakening on the streets as an atheist. So I know that God has got me here for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been my driving forces is it's not about me. You can see where I've gone, you can see the chances, I must be good at what I do because everybody comes to us, so yeah, it's
Yeah.
just been a blessed journey, man.
Oh, awesome. You said that 97% of the people who are homeless in Manchester die on the streets, right? And you are one
Yeah,
of the 3%.
yeah.
What's the difference? Like, what made you different from all of the 97%? How come you got out and while most people don't?
I think somebody up there was looking after me because they're dying twice. I was into alcohol, that was my deal. Most people into drugs on the street, so they overdose and
Okay, okay.
stuff like that. Well, if I could die of coming off alcohol unless I drank, copious amounts. I've had alcoholic poisoning so many times.
Right.
So I think when I look back, it was kind of all planned anyway. So I was just, I like to say lucky, but I think I was blessed. I think I was always meant to do what I do. I had a strong feeling when I was on the streets
Mm.
that I would be doing this. And it crazy, crazy. When I'm sat around with other people on the streets telling people this, go, you're crazy, man. You never come off the streets. You're going to die on the streets. You'll never make anything of yourselves.
Yeah.
And again, the old saying come in says who?
Says who? Wow.
Mm.
Okay. So what was your spiritual awakening like? Do you remember the moment or do you remember the day when it happened?
It's freaky. Okay. It was absolutely mind blowingly, oh my God, that can't be true, freaky.
Okay.
So I'll try and narrow it down, but I'm on the streets one night. I'm coming off a bender, I've kind of sobering up. It's pouring down with rain. It's 2 o'clock Monday morning. I'm in an area where there's no people. It's just offices and factories. And I dropped down to my hands and knees. And it was pouring down with rain and I was crying from my belly. This is after being on the streets for 14 months,
Hmm.
hurting people. I got stabbed 3 times. I got my nose
Wow.
broken, my teeth knocked out.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
so I dropped down to my hands and knees. And I was crying, not because I've lost my wife, my kids, my money, my cars, my houses. I was crying because the first time I realized I couldn't stop drinking. And it
Mm.
broke me. I looked up to the sky and said, if there's a God up there, I can't do this on my own anymore. 30 seconds ish later, this guy appeared around the corner carrying a little Bible with him. He'd missed his last bus home from a Bible study, so he'd had
Wow.
to walk at least an hour. He took a shortcut that he's never taken before, and he came upon me. And he
Wow.
said, do you want help? And I said, yeah. He took me back to his house. He was in recovery himself. He said, you
Wow.
can stay here for as long as you want, but you've got to come to these AA meetings. Well, I hated the meetings, but the next day, off we went. And this is where it gets freaky. You're in a circle in the UK. So I'm sat in this circle listening to all the BS going on,
Mhm.
about how much people drink and, stuff. And about half past opposite me, this guy said, my name's John. I'm a recovered alcoholic. And I was like, what? You can't recover from this? What's he talking about? So he went on to talk, and it was so interesting. After the meeting, I went over to him and said, John, would you sponsor me? My name's Rob. And he said, no, but I will be as a spiritual advisor for a period of 12 weeks. Didn't think anything of it. What do we have to do? Get a dictionary, get the big book, come round to the house Wednesday. There's my address. Be there. If you arrived at 10 to the hour, you stay downstairs and you walk up 1 minute to and you knock on my door and let you in, which I thought was weird. But this guy seemed to have all the answers. So I did that for 12 weeks. And on the last day there, and he'd always walk me to the door at like 1 minute to 8. So I left Derek's, that was his name, Derek, who got me from the street. Left Derek's at 6, got there for 7, stayed till 8, walked home for 9. So 3 hours every single Wednesday for 12 weeks. Got
Wow.
there last time, he told me my life had changed, I'd be sent away to a different country and my life will change from tomorrow. So I said, John, I love what you've done. I feel great. I'll never drink, blah, 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 as long as it continued. And then I went home. I told Derek this. And the next day, I'm tidying the house, and he comes home and he said, "Oh my God, there's the guy that sweeps the floor at the factory. He's just resigned. Do you want a part-time job sweeping the floors?" I'm like, "Oh my God, yes." So I went there, later turned to a full-time job, joined that week, and I got my first paycheck about 2 weeks after that. So I remember what John said, and life would change. I'm like, "Oh my goodness." So I went to the gas station, petrol station. I bought him a little teddy bear like this. That's all I could afford, and a card. And I wrote on the card, "Thank you for introducing me to God." He took the compulsory drink away and I went back to his house. When I got there, it looked slightly different. The curtains look a bit worn, like cobwebs. Knocked on the door, so excited to see this guy. I'm so excited. I got this teddy bear. I've got to tell him all the news that he said would come true, that came true. And he's no answer. So the girl on the right hand side of the apartment came out and she says, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, where's John? Has he moved out?" And she said, "John." I said, "Yeah, John." She said, "There's been no one in that apartment for at least 3 months that I've been here." So I let her close the door, weirdo. Went round to the left hand side, knocked on the door. Big guy come to the door. "What do you want?" I said, "Where's John relocated to?" And he said, "John who?" I said, "The guy next door, your neighbor. What's wrong with you guys? The guy next door. I've been coming here for 12 weeks. He went on to tell me that that apartment was derelict. In actual fact, if you walked in that front door, you would fall down to the empty basement below. I'm like, what? So I went next day. I went to the meeting where I saw John, and I walked in, and the guy said, "Hey, Rob," and I'm like, "Thank God for that. You recognize me?" "Yeah, of course we do. Come in." Does John still come here? John who? I'm like, I was over near the coffee machine speaking to him when I was in last time. And he said, Rob, you was over near the coffee machine speaking to yourself. I've never found that man.
What?
I've never found that man. I know. And what he taught me is what I do today. That's why 97, 98% of people have come. When the nearest percentage to us is 9%, they all get well. That's because what John taught me about life, about addiction, about neuroscience, even back then, and all the stuff that we knew. But when I started to
Whoa.
get wealthy, I know when I started to get wealthy, I hired the best detective service in Manchester that money could buy. And they couldn't trace him.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah,
what do you make of that? Like, did he actually exist, or was it like
nobody could find him. And he, and
do
he,
you think?
he predicted stuff as well. I mean, he predicted that I'd be sent far away from my own country. And when I get there, I'll never come back. That'll become my home. And I'm like, I'm in this guy's basement on a blow up mattress. There's no way am I going anywhere. I'm sorry, John. I kept arguing with him. Everything he said came true. So I won't tell that
Whoa.
story for 10 years. I would never tell that story for 10 years because
Yeah.
people thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
But after looking at it, seeing my life, looking at what's happened, looking at how many people I helped, he had to be an angel. He had to be an angel.
Mm.
Because I always wondered when I walked to his house, like 1 minute to, and then seven, I knock on the door, he opened. And whatever we were doing at 1 minute to eight, we might be in a full blown conversation. And he'd go, okay, it's time to go. And he'd walk me to the door and walk me out for 8 o'clock. I always thought that was weird. And now I look back and I realize why.
It was only 1 hour specifically, always like, wow.
7 till 8, yeah. I couldn't knock on the door at 10 to, and I couldn't walk upstairs at 5 to or 4 minutes. 1 minute to, I could walk upstairs to the second floor and I could knock on his door dead on 7 o'clock. They thought he's a weirdo. But now
That's so
it makes
wild.
sense. Yeah.
That's so wild. Okay. And so after that, you started working a part-time job and a full-time job, like sweeping floors. What happened after? What happened next?
So I was doing that obviously for a few months, and then I moved out of Derrick's and I got into little apartment they got me into that the government paid for, and then that didn't work out. I didn't like it, so I moved back to Derrick, and it was when the chat rooms first came out, probably about 19 years ago, when
Mm.
they, them old chat rooms, and you go into like a spiritual chat room or a religious chat. And I started talking to this girl by chance. She was just about to come off on a come and I messaged her, hey, she had a story like mine. And we did that for a week or so. And then when next time we were on, she texted me like she goes to this huge church in Dallas, Texas. And her pastor wants me to come over for 3 weeks to educate the youth because there's a huge crack cocaine in this affluent area. If I come over to 3 weeks, they couldn't pay me for being there, but they pay for my travel and my expenses. And I'm like, this is a huge opportunity for me. So here's another thing I've not remembered for ages. So I was like, yes, yes, yes. So they got the tickets like 2 months' time. I was so excited. It was so amazing. Then a week before we're going to go, I start packing. And I get my passport out and it's out of date by like 2 or 3 days. And I'm like, I know a passport takes 4 weeks. Even if you expedite it, it might take 3 weeks, but that's it. There's no. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. So I got on a bus, didn't have a car, went all the way to Liverpool. It was like 40 miles away. I went to the passport agency. I walked in, give him all my stuff, and he's like, okay, it'll be about 6 weeks. I said, no, let me expedite it. I'm going away. I'm going to America. And he's like, if you expedite it, it's still going to be like at least 3 weeks. Man, you should have thought somebody just tore my heart out. So I paid for everything, just normal, didn't expedite it. Got back in the bus, I came, I was in tears, man. And I could not for the life of me tell her. I was so embarrassed. So what the plan was is to lie to her the day before and say that I'd come down with some illness and I can't go. It was horrible, horrible. So 3 days before I was going to tell her, a knock came on Derek's door. He opened it and there was the mailman with my passport. And it had taken about 9 days.
What?
I didn't think about that, for years until then when I look at all the things that's happened to me, I realize I was always meant to be and always meant to do this. So when I came over to Dallas, I get off the plane, I steps on the tarmac, that's how many years ago it was. I stepped on the tarmac, and all of a sudden, the thought pattern came that this is my place, and I'm never going home to live there anymore. And that's what I did. Crazy.
Wow.
And I stayed there and became a citizen, and yeah, I've never looked back since.
Wow. Okay. So you started to educate the youth and then kind of progressed um, from there. And what is it exactly? You said that you work with celebrities and you do all that, and it's very demanding on all this. But so what is it actually that you do? Like, what do you do
So
with
we're
them?
kind of neuroscientists. I've got a PhD
Mm,
in psychology and a PhD in behavioral science. The
mm,
behavioral science I did online, but it's very, very handy. So we use neuroscience to cure people. We have all sorts of neuroscience tools. It's a 90-day program, 1 hour a day. Uh, most of it, 90% is telehealth, but we do have offices. I have 5 offices around the world. Um, so yeah, we changed it. We reprogram brains. We recircuit neural pathways. We reprogram behavior, and then we work with the family as well. So if you have a drug problem, we get rid of that. If you have
mm.
depression, PTSD, childhood trauma, we cure all of that stuff. There's a team of about 10 of us. We have offices in Dallas, Texas, San Antonio, where I am, Manchester, England, London, and we have Switzerland.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so we're a multi-million dollar company.
That's
Not bad from a homeless guy, huh?
yeah.
I
Damn. That's
know, right?
that's a super impressive story. Are you writing books and stuff?
Yeah, I've got 2 books out there. One's just about to come out, but the first one is when when I was at home. Uh, I fell downstairs. I stabbed my wife 3 times one night because she wouldn't let me finish my bottle of vodka. I
Oof.
fell on children. I did all sorts of punching and fighting. It was horrible. But when I injured my wife with a knife, uh, I call the ambulance, I call the police, and I call a taxi, which is just around the corner. So I fled to Spain, and I stayed in Spain for about 3 or 4 months. Uh, and then all charges were dropped. So I came home, and when I came home, she had all the cases packed. She had the children ready because she knew exactly what time I was going to get home, and she left with the children and everything. And there's this beautiful house, like, and I got into my attorney after she took them and said, "Get my kids back. I don't care how you do it. I'll pay you this amount." So we went to court first thing in the morning and got like an order to bring my children back until we went to court the week after. So he brought my 2 children back, ages 1 and 3, and I got them in the house, man. I sat in front of the TV. I've been sober for 3 or 4 days by now, because now I've got them back. I've been sober when I come home from Spain to make sure everything was going to be okay. And when I sat them down, I walked into the kitchen and I thought, wouldn't it be great just to have one beer to celebrate my children coming home?
Mm,
2 or 3 days later, when the police kicked the door down, the children not been fed or changed diapers for 2 days. I was in a stupor. The police kicked the door down. They handed me papers for unfit father, and they took my kids. They handed the youngest one to my mother-in-law and the eldest one, 3, to my wife. And my youngest one was walking down the pathway with my wife. They were all disgusted. The police were there. I was sobbing. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Just a piece of shit. But one of the policemen were crying. It was very sad. And she turned around and said to me, my youngest daughter, she said, Daddy, she said 3 things to me. Daddy, Daddy, please don't go. And I'm crying and sobbing. And halfway down the pathway, she turned around again and said, Daddy, Daddy, please get better. And as they got to the gate, the big wrought iron gate, opened the gate, and she turned around one more time and she said, Daddy, Daddy, please stop drinking.
wow.
And I couldn't do it. So 28 years on, I'm in America. Everyone's telling me to write a book. So I wrote about my life, but I wrote it from my daughter's perspective that I've never seen for 30 years, 28, I don't know how many long time. So when we finished the book, I just give pieces to my wife and she created this beautiful book, but she did it like in as if a 4 or 5 year old was writing it. And about a week after that, we wrote it. It was sat there. We didn't have a title. My daughter messaged me on Facebook, my eldest daughter, and said, Dad, I've just seen you on TV in England. I don't believe what my parents were, my mom was telling me. I need to see you. I've got something to show you, but I need to see you, get a relationship. That was 3 o'clock in the morning. 6 hours later, we were on a plane back to England.
Wow.
And we arrived, we stayed in a hotel around the corner from her. And this is all the work I've done with people and getting them well and saving their families. I didn't think at the time. So we walked around in the morning, 10 a.m., and we walked around to a door. I was crying. You know, all the shit came back that you were a waste of time, you piece of shit. And before I could knock on the door, she opened the door and we cried. She was crying. My wife was crying. We hugged each other. And here's the part where I knew I was doing something right. She walked me into she walked me into her living room and she handed me my 3-month-old granddaughter. And right there, I knew that I was doing the right stuff. And then we got talking and stuff, and we talked about the book, and so we haven't got a title. And she said to me, "What about the last thing you said? I said to you." I said, "I don't remember what it was." She said, "Daddy, Daddy, please stop drinking." So that's what we named the book, "Daddy, Daddy, please stop drinking." It's back in the corner over there. It's
Wow.
written like in child's handwriting.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's out there and it's dedicated to her. And 4 weeks ago, my youngest daughter got in contact with me after 30 years.
Wow.
So I'm going over to see her next month. So yeah, it's been a
Wow.
crazy ride.
It's like a full circle.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Wow. It's just I'm mind blown and shocked.
Yeah.
I was definitely not expecting this. All
Yeah.
right. Um, what's next for you? You know, after you've been off through all this, and what's next for you?
Well, I've just started a non-profit organization, and basically, we've just started it. The Robb Kelly Foundation.org is the website. It's the only website. I don't sell anything on these things. I don't sell any books. I'm here to help people. That's all. But the foundation's a good thing. So we started that about 6, 7 weeks ago. We have no donations yet. We're just working with it. So I want to do that, and I want to create a center in San Antonio for people who need a second start, whether that be moms, dads, children, and we're going to make sure that no kid goes hungry in San Antonio. So we pay lunch debts off, stuff like that. We pay out of our own pocket right now, but I want to create that legacy. That
Mm,
right now the company's called the Robb Kelly Group, and right now most people want me to work with them. Want Dr. Robb, Dr. Robb. I'd like to walk away this, leaving the name but me not having to be there. Plus a 100-bed facility in San Antonio. And like we
wow.
said, I'd like to finish that and maybe in 2 years' time retire and just come away and enjoy my life with my wife on the beach somewhere.
Okay. Wow. Awesome. So yeah, just contribute and give back.
Yes.
Nice.
Always must, always done. We usually before the foundation, we usually give back, me and my wife, out of our own pockets, give back about 150,000 a year back into
Mm,
communities. People need help, people like fathers going to get custody for 2 days of the children. We buy him a suit, we pay for his attorney, we get into court and back. We might pay 6 months on a little apartment so the kids come around and see dad's doing well and stuff like that. Stuff that I never got when I was going through my stuff.
yeah. That's awesome. I'm happy to hear that. Also that you're going to that you're planning to retire somewhere on a beach and enjoy the rest, enjoy
Yeah.
your life and all this. Because I mean, what you said that you do now, like people call you, you have to get on a plane like right away, like, and they're demanding, like that must be super draining, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is, Even if you get on a plane, you're sleeping on the plane, which you never do, even private
Mm,
charter planes. But yeah, we put a lot in. I'm kind of on call, like, I don't know, 18 hours a day. I'm
mm,
ready to go, you know.
wow.
Um, but yeah, but, and here's the but, because we're so successful, we're a small unit. You have to pass an assessment before we take you on. So we turn down most people before we do anything.
Yeah.
But they pay an absolute fortune to come and see me,
Yeah.
So that's always good. And then watching people get well and then helping families, putting them back together, it's just something I really enjoy. So I have to look after myself. I have to eat right. I
Yeah.
just lost 157 pounds
Wow,
over the
congrats.
last 2 years. Yeah, I was 300 and something pounds. I didn't like it. So I'm on this huge like health journey. I'm back
Yeah.
in the gym. I'm eating right. My thought patterns are clearer. I'm taking the right organic supplements. I'm cutting out all the rancid oils like the sunflower oil, the canola oils in my food. I'm making sure that I eat just the right things because you only need four oils in your life. Most people think you need all these oils. You don't. There's four
Yeah.
oils that you need in life, and if you stick to that, there's four chemicals the brain needs to happen: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins for you to be happy every day. Which you can gain all of them, but the only problem is the serotonin and dopamine are created in the stomach. So unless you're eating well, you're never going to be at your best. Most people walk around 65% of the capability and capacity. That's what
Yeah.
they do. I get people to 100.
Is it, and you say it's because of food in a big way, yeah?
Oh, 100%. In
100%.
this country, the food system is terrible. So
Yeah.
the food makes us sick, and then the pharmaceutical companies sell us drugs to keep, and that's
Yeah.
how what
To
America
like
is.
get you better, like keep you functioning, but
Exactly.
yeah,
I always
it's
ask
like
one
this.
question when
Oh,
when people say they're on medication. So the depression meds, SRR, they're really easy to say. People come to me and go, "Well, I've been taking these meds for like 3 years," and my answer is always the same. When did you think it was going to kick in? Because you've been taking them for 3 years and you're still depressed. And I ask this question: Has
wow.
anybody in the world, anybody taken a medication that's cured your ailment so you don't have to take the pill anymore? And the answer is always no. So the
Hmm.
pharmaceutical company rule the world.
Yeah.
Everybody in America is on something.
Yeah. So it looks like you're not a big fan of mental health medication.
I am not a big fan at all. Now, let me
Okay.
let me precursor that by saying that brain chemicals change. I'm only talking about psych, by the way, guys. I'm not talking about any other illness. There are some people that need to take it, but my
Yes.
biggest thing is this: if you're depressed and you've never seen a doctor, but you're depressed, the medical reason in America from the medical journal uh, to describe depression is lack of serotonin. That's what it is. So you go to the
Ooh.
doctor, it gives you the false serotonin. Okay. I also want people to do before they go to the doctor and get on a false serotonin is ask why my serotonin is low in the first place. And you can replace food, you can replace sunlight, music, self-care, yoga, all this stuff that we take the right organic supplements, and you can raise that serotonin so you are not depressed. But no one's asking that. Everyone's running to the doctor and getting on a false serotonin. So when you take the false serotonin, this is my serotonin here that can get
Yeah.
better. Because we're taking this false serotonin, we can't go higher than the false one. So now we're stuck on that for the rest of our lives to be happy.
Ooh, yeah. And what I've also noticed is that you take the artificial serotonin to make you feel a little bit better, and then your motivation to change anything goes away, right? Because you're like,
Yes.
oh, I've taken a pill, I feel a little bit better, so
Yeah.
there's no motivation to do yoga anymore. There's no inspiration to do anything else, and so it keeps
Correct.
people stuck. Keeps people stuck, and it
Yeah.
always. I had like so I had pretty bad social anxiety and depression, and I was never. I'm from the Czech Republic, Eastern Europe, most like Central Eastern Europe. So back then, especially in my family, it was like just get over it, kind of like don't be a little bitch, like just get over it, and and so I couldn't go to therapy. I couldn't go to doctors. I couldn't go get on medication. And now looking back, I'm like really happy about it because
Yeah.
I went online and I started doing my research. Like I googled how to be happy. I googled how to be confident. I googled what
Mm.
is social anxiety, why, and I started doing my own research, and that then inspired me to start changing my habits and my lifestyle, which in turn, you know, cured my depression. And so
Yes.
I meet people all the time who've been on medication for 3, 5, even 10 years, and they're
Yeah.
still the same, and nothing's changed, and it's really sad to me. So it's really awesome to meet people who are out there, um, helping people do real work and
Yeah.
creating the centers and all the things that you're going to do as well. I have a I definitely want to ask you this: with everything that you're doing and everything that you've already achieved and how busy you are, why did you say yes to this, to talking to me here?
So I have a team around me, and Courtney is my media director. So what she does, I've been on podcasts with millions of listeners, and I've been on podcasts with 3 listeners. So
Right.
she goes out and she finds people that are changing the world. She finds people, and this is what she does, and this is no exaggeration. Ondra, no exaggeration. She calls me and goes, you need to be with this guy. You need to speak to this guy. You know, you need to have coffee with him. And you know, years ago, I used to go, well, who is them? You know, what they like? You know, did anybody heard of her? But as the time goes on, she just knows. And then when obviously she's
Wow.
researched you and she's just gone, boom, we've got to put you two together. I don't argue anymore. I just go, okay, cool. See, I don't get my day until the 8 o'clock the night. So
Oh,
like
wow.
tonight I'll get tomorrow, yeah, because I got too much going on. But then she put this on, and I'm like, I don't even question. I go, cool, and it's just shown. You are a freaking amazing guy. You are so freaking intelligent. You are mind-blowingly entertaining to talk to, unlike most of the guys that I get on with. You know, and I can see that you're young, and I can see that you're ambitious, and you, my friend, are going to change the world.
Thank you.
Believe me, after
Thank you.
63 years of being on this earth, when I see somebody, I
Mm.
know with instant, and you are going to change the world, man. So that's why I'm on it, because you know, when you're a household name, when you're changing lives, when you've got like 20 billion followers, I'm going to say, I chatted with him. I chatted with that guy. That's what it's about, man. So that's why we come on, because you're fucking awesome.
Okay, well, awesome. Thank you very much for the compliments as well. And I'm
Of
happy
course.
that you're enjoying the conversation because Courtney, I think that's who I spoke to. Like you said, she didn't tell me really nothing about you, and honestly, I don't really do my much research when I do this
Me
podcast.
neither. Yeah.
A lot of the a big reason for that is I'm not really trying to create like a highly produced show and reach lots and lots of people. But one of the things that I'm trying to show is that you can just meet somebody and go and follow through with a conversation. And
Yeah.
as somebody who started with severe social anxiety and I was like the most awkward kid, I couldn't speak to anyone. I would be like shaking in the corner to now
Yeah.
being able to just, oh yeah, okay, I'm talking to Rob now, and just kind of navigate the conversation through that. I think it can be like inspiring because then people can take this as well and just start a conversation on somebody with somebody on the street or invite somebody for a coffee just out there, and the
Exactly.
conversation would go
Exactly.
in a similar way. It's not like you would have a script and questions prepared for like an interview when you're just trying to get to know to somebody.
We never do that. You know, they go, okay, well, I'm sending Dr. Rob some questions, and she goes, I don't take questions. Is that,
Ooh,
well,
okay.
what if I answer my question, I don't know the answer to? Yeah, he'll know. You know,
Hell,
we're not doing a clinical thing here, guys. We're doing like you just said, you ready to go? I'm like, yeah, let's go, let's go. Like, there's no prep. It's just
nice.
two guys sitting together, finding out about each other and inspiring other people. That's what it
I
is, you
love
know.
that.
We rebuff the questions. It's just like, you know, it's just like, I'm not interested. If you want to know the answers to them questions, go and Google me. All the answers are there. I'm just sitting down
Right.
and knowing about you as well
Yeah.
as you knowing about me, because I've done billions of interviews. I'm done with that. It's, you know, we did some testing. You'll love this, by the way. We did some testing. What we wanted to find out is what's the purest form, and gets the brain and the heart going like nothing else. So we got 20 people in a room, and we said, come in, we'll pay you, drink coffee, you know, meet everybody, go around, talk to it. Nobody knew anybody. And everyone said, great, yeah, pay me $25, brilliant, take about 30 minutes. But we wired them up, you know, head and chest. So we wanted to see their reaction. Because what we did is unbeknown to them, we put two doctors there, two mechanics, you know, two of everything. So we were monitoring them. Every time I say this, I get excited. And what we found is when a doctor met a mechanic, let's say, okay, then it would go up by 10%. So it was a 100 scale. It went up by 10%. Basically, because they don't really have a lot in common and they didn't know he was a doctor until he told them. So all of a sudden, they're socially separated a little bit, 10%. When a doctor met a doctor, okay, it went up to 40% because now they have something in common. But,
Mm.
and here's the but, when mechanic was being authentic, with the doctor being authentic, it spiked to 100%. So
Mm.
authenticity is the best form of communication ever. As long as you're being
Awesome. Yeah.
authentic, it's brilliant.
Yeah. I would definitely imagine in this scenario as well, because the doctor and the mechanic, they have completely different lives, right? And if they are
Yes.
being authentic, then they get to see a completely different perspective and a completely
Boom.
different side of life, right? But
Yeah, you got it.
as long as they are being authentic. That's true. Because
Yes,
then people tend to get into like pretending, right, and trying to be like,
yes,
oh, like okay, like they're different, so maybe I have to say things differently to let them like me more, and then it
yes,
creates like the disconnect.
yeah. It's like everyone
All right.
exaggerates. If you ask somebody how much they on a year, say 100 grand, they're probably on 60. Everyone wants to try and impress each other when you like this, the best ever. No preparation. We don't know each other. We haven't Googled each other. We get on, we chat. It's organic on.
Oh, okay. Yay. As you're talking about authenticity, it's organic and all this, and like, oh yay, technical issues. I
Yeah,
think we're
yeah,
back.
yeah,
Yeah, that happens sometimes. All good. All
yeah.
right. I love this conversation as well. But while I'm thinking as well, like, what is something like really awesome that I think that I want to ask you, and I'm thinking about two things. One is overall addiction, because I think like you've dealt with that a lot, and I've dealt with some mild. I'm gonna say mild because I definitely haven't gone in depth. What sounds like your story with weed, so it wasn't that bad, but it took me a while to try and quit and do all this. So addiction is a big thing with alcohol and other things. So what have you learned about addiction? And if you would like somebody who's, let's say, struggling with addiction, what do they need to learn, or what do they need to change, or what do they need to where do people start with
Well,
overcoming
we
addiction?
have we have to understand that alcoholism and drug addiction are different. Everyone likes to
Mm,
think it's the same. It's not the same. Alcoholics are born, drug addicts are made. Let me explain that. So, alcoholism is a predisposition passed down from generation to generation, though it can skip one, two, three generations. We're born with three parts of the brain that differ from any other brain on the world.
okay.
As the hypothalamus, the basal ganglia, and the amygdala. We're also allergic to the ethanol that's in alcohol. So when we
Ooh,
take that first drink, all bets are off. My first drink was the age of 9, and it took
wow.
me till the age of 20, 26, and then I was homeless. So it took his toll over the time. Drug addicts and porn, cake, food, sex, it's all about the addicted personality. So you can't drink yourself into becoming an alcoholic. You can't do that. You can take enough drugs to become a drug addict. How do we know that? Well, 90% of patients that come to us with a heroin addiction started in the doctor's office. So that's how we can judge. Both show up the same. The first thing to do if you think you have a problem or you want to stop or you're drinking or using or got out of hand, you just need to start dialogue with somebody. Just be honest with somebody. If you have to ask somebody, do I have a problem with alcohol? You have a problem with alcohol. That's usually it. And when you take the first drink, can you stop? Because alcoholism and heavy drinking and abusing is a fine line. Like the tag alcoholic, like, oh, Johnny around the corner, he drinks 2 bottles of vodka, he's an alcoholic. That's not true. 10 DUIs do not make me an alcoholic. A warning from the doctor, it does not make, what happens is when I take the alcohol, something happens to me different. And basically, this is what it is. So the hypothalamus is our survival part of the brain. It tells us how to survive. And when it comes to keeping alive, it tells us we have to drink water, eat food. That's it. That's the two basic fundamental things that it tells a baby when it's born. During the alcoholic's journey, like mine, whatever that age is or how often it takes, the hypothalamus turns around to the alcoholic and tells them to drink alcohol. That's why alcoholics can go days or weeks without food or water. When the primary part of the brain, the survival primary of the brain, is telling you you have to drink alcohol to survive, that's what happens. So we
Wow.
do not have a choice when it comes to that. And then the gateway drug for everything is childhood trauma. So the rest of the addictions revolve around childhood trauma, the repetitive. If I'm in a house that's dysfunctional and dad comes home and bashes mom most nights because he's drunk, I start thinking that's normal. So when we
Yeah.
attract what we think we are worth, I'm going to go out and attract the same guy or same girl. If you're a young kid in there, young daughter, you're going to attract the same same energy as the father, so you'll end up dating the guy that ends up beating you and drinking too much. It's the weirdest thing, but it's the mirroring part of the brain. We attract what we think we are worth, not what we are worth. Everybody is at least 20% more attractive, 20% more intelligent, 20% more freaking awesome than you ever think you are. That's just a basic fact. The key in life is to find out what addiction and alcohol is and cake food, what it really is about. Because I hope you sat down for this, guys. Alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism, and the same with drug addiction. It's not the problem. I never had a drinking problem. I had a thinking problem. Well, brain was badly wired, passed down from father. If you think you're an alcoholic and everything's looking horrible for you, if you can trace it back 3 generations, if you can trace alcoholism there, like my grandfather and my mom or whatever, there's a good chance you are. But it's the only self-diagnosed illness in the world. When that stuff gets inside my body, I act differently anybody else who lives in my neighborhood, because then I can't stop. If I took a drink today, I would still be out there in Christmas. You'd have to come and find me. I would not be able to stop. So unless you got me to hospital or end up in jail, like I'm dead, I can't stop on my own. That's the horrid truth about alcoholism, and people don't know that. They just think if I stop taking the drugs or I stop taking the alcohol, things will get better. No, they don't. They get worse.
Mm. So in this case, you said you can't do it alone. So what
No.
actually helps?
Well, you start dialogue with somebody and tell them what you're going through. Then you
Yeah.
find yourself a 12-step meeting. Try them first, AA, NA, CA, all them, and then
Yeah.
go see, go see a counselor that knows what they're doing. If you're an alcoholic, you have to see a counselor that's been an alcoholic. If you're a drug
Mm.
addict, you've got it. If you're a
Mm.
childhood trauma, you've got it. Don't let anybody who's been to college for 20 years convince you that they can heal you when they've not gone through it. It's impossible. Like you with
Yeah.
anxiety. Don't ever
There we
talk
go.
to anybody that's not gone through what you thought, because the thought patterns behind what we go through are absolutely mind blowing. I was trying to find a therapist myself because I need to speak to somebody once a month. And the first guy we interviewed, because we interviewed them, said
Yeah.
that he'd been to college for like 10 years. He had a master's in counseling, but he'd never suffered from alcoholism and addiction. And I said, well, you can't help me. And he said, I beg to differ. So I said, okay, here's a scenario. You have a bottle of vodka behind your back and you're not letting you're going to have it. Can you imagine that? And he said, yeah, I can imagine that. Can you imagine me stabbing you in the face continuously until I get that bottle of vodka? And he was like, whoa, whoa, that's very violent. You don't understand what I'm going through. So this was about 2 or 3 times we tried this. And then we booked in to see this, like, I don't know how old she was, 70-year-old ex-heroin addict, hippie, went to see her. And I did the same. Are you an alcoholic? She said, yeah, I'm an ex-drug addict, an alcoholic. I said, brilliant. So I said the scenario to her. If you had a bottle of vodka and she went, I'd stab you first. And I'm like, there's my girl. She's been through it. She knows what I'm going through. She knows my thought patterns and behavior around the illness. And you're not just,
Yeah.
you can't teach this from college.
Yeah.
So the good news is this conversation is awesome. The bad news is I got 5 minutes left before my
Yeah.
next patient, which I'm
All
sad
right.
about. I'm sad about.
No worries. Thanks for letting me know. All right. Thanks for this. The last thing that I wanted to ask you about is loneliness. How much loneliness do you see among all of the people that you work with, and how much impact does it play in the world and in people that you see?
So obviously loneliness is isolation. Isolation is not good for any human being. So how do we know this? Again, whatever I say on here and do, we've researched, trial, tested. So there's a prison over here that still executes people in Texas. So we were allowed to go in through contact of a contact and just interview people on death row. What we found is probably 80% of people that actually went to the chair or injection was almost insane. They were partially insane. Why was they partially insane? The isolation. And that's why I've not seen the worst over COVID yet. When you isolate somebody or you're lonely, you have nobody to talk to, the humdrum routine is the same, it's going to end in disaster. The four
Mm.
chemicals are not going to be made. You need to get out there. And I was speaking to a kid once and I'm like, do you have any friends? He said, I've got 5,000 friends on Facebook. I'm like, you just plugged into the wall. Do you have any friends? And the answer was no. So
Mm.
once we get out mixing, going to these groups, confiding in your friend, get out of loneliness. Loneliness, two things that kill people: loneliness and sit down. We've got to
Mm,
stop telling Granny to stay inside, wrap up warm, sit down. No, that's killing her. How about getting her outside with a walk and stuff like that? You've got to be
yeah,
moving at least 20, 30 minutes a day. If you're sat in the office all day, that's going to kill you. Okay, you've got to get up, you've got to move, you've got to eat good stuff, you've got to get the sunlight, you've got to do the self-care, you've got to get into an intimate yoga, you've got to do grounding, you've got to get the vitamins, the D3, the C, the D, the B, the C. You've got to get in it. And remember, four oils you need: coconut oil, olive oil, avocado oil, and a good grass-fed butter. That is it, guys. Once you change to that, your thought patterns and sluggishness and isolation and loneliness will disappear. I guarantee it, guys.
amazing. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. I think we can wrap it up here. Thank you so much for doing this. It was an amazing conversation. And yeah, best of luck with the next stage of your life. Enjoy your beach retirements and all of this. And maybe we run into each other somewhere again.
Oh, 100%, man. 100%. I need one of these talks again. This is for me. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, we got to meet again, man. I'm telling you. I'm calling
Awesome.
Courtney just before my next patient. I'm telling her.
All right.
Sound
Thank
good?
you.
Thank
Sounds
you so
perfect.
much.
All right.
All right.
Bye, Rob. Bye bye.
Bye bye.